Okay, so now we're going to look at the code for our game. So this code is all written for Arduino, obviously, and this code is going to be identical between the two Arduinos, basically. So this code controls one player. And it's basically done. There might be some little things to fine-tune, but it was actually pretty straightforward. So we're going to explain this, and I'll upload it to GitHub and link to it in the description. And I see my audio is peaking, so I may want to turn that down, but it's probably fine. It doesn't seem to be doing as much anymore. Okay. So here we define a lot of constants, which are constant integers. Constant. I don't know. I find that funny. I like bad puns, though. So these are our 4 input pins, which are analog pins, but we're just using them as digital inputs, which fortunately the Arduino natively supports, because I thought I was going to have to find out some way to implement that myself, but no, it turns out that if you just set the pin mode and like digital read from them and stuff, it just works. And I tested that in Tinkercad Circuit Simulator, or whatever the heck they call it. What used to be 123D circuits. I can never remember what they rebadged it to. So anyways, these constants are our 4 input pins. And then these are all output pins. These are variables we use in the program, so these state variables are going to be used to read our inputs. And these variables, depending on their value, that is how many points you have, and therefore how many LEDs are lit. So we will see how that is used in a second. Here we set all of our pin modes to outputs for all of our output pins, and here we set all of our pin mode input pin. As you can see from the comments, this started out as the button example, just because that was a pretty good place to start, because it already had all of the building blocks I needed. It's when I code, I like to assemble. So I write some code myself, obviously, if I need something custom. But for the simple stuff, I like to assemble existing building blocks. I work in very I work in like units that are not like the individual units. I like to work with building blocks rather than starting from scratch. I can start from scratch. It's just easier to work from building blocks, and it makes more sense to me that way. So anyways, that was all set up and stuff. So this is our main loop. So we set all of our state variables to digital read, which again, that just worked for the analog pins, fortunately. And here we go. So we have if these input pins digital read high, and our variable, which tracks how many points you have, is less than 3, because we only have 3 LEDs, then we are going to increment that variable up, and then this delay is just the way I do debounce. It's not the proper way to do debounce. The proper way to do debounce is in the debounce example, but short delay does work well for most things, and it's very simple and effective. Okay. So we can see that's repeated a bunch until we get to the 4th one. So if you saw my first video, you'll know that the 4th one's a little more complicated because it doesn't actually give you a point. It takes away one of your partner's points. So it takes away from the thing that has the highest amount of points, and it flashes that blue light, and depending, if it can't take away any points, it'll flash it 5 times really fast, or if it can take away points, it'll flash it once slowly. Yes. And then here we have our if statements to turn on the LEDs, actually, because above we just have the variables being set. So here it checks those variables that we changed, and it sets the LEDs to them. So it's if this variable 1 LED equals 0, then it sets this pin 1 pin 1. It sets all of the pins to low because zero LEDs are lit. But if 1 LED is lit, it sets 1 to high and the other one's to low. 2, it sets 2, 3, so on for all of the other ones. So as you can see, it's actually pretty simple code. It's a lot easier than I thought. And I may just have to fine tune those delay variables a little bit. We'll see what needs to be fine tuned, but overall, I think it should work pretty well for what I'm trying to accomplish. I may add some serial print commands for debugging when the time comes. But for now, that is the code. Thank you for watching, and that is all.